Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Walters Wanderings Travel Podcast. My name is Scott Walters, and we'll be introducing our guest in just a minute. But before we do that, I do need to let you know what my special promotion is with this podcast, and I'm going to call it the Norwegian Cruise Lines Go Ahead and Break Free promotion. If you go ahead and you book a Norwegian Cruise Line cruise, you will get extra onboard credit. That will depend on the category of your stateroom and the length of the cruise. So you'll need to be in touch with me for details, but you will be getting a little extra onboard credit from Walters Wanderings Travel right in your little dossier there. It'll be great for you to be able to enjoy something a little extra on your cruise. And we do have Kristopher Kiersarsky from NCL. He is actually live with us from the island of Tortola in the British West Indies, where they drive backwards. And he'll be talking to us about Norwegian Cruise Lines as he is actually doing a working trip with the other travel advisors. And he'll talk about the whole experience of working on a ship in that capacity, and, of course, everything to do with Norwegian Cruise Line. So, Chris, welcome aboard. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Scott. And yes, I am on board the beautiful Norwegian Encore. You might have heard an announcement. They are doing some safety drills and whatnot, but, we're here. Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm an account manager for Norwegian Cruise Line. So my role is to help travel advisors such as Scott and supporting his business and their business. So, but yeah, we're on the Norwegian Encore. I'm hosting a bunch of travel advisors, and we're just taking it all in, have a bunch of seminars, trainings, and we even have a cruise photo scavenger hunt so they can kind of explore the ship and see all the features of it. But yeah, that's what we're doing right now. And like I said, I'm in Tortola. There's my beautiful view out there. But yeah, so we're here.
That's great. I really appreciate you coming on board. Now, full disclosure, I was actually on my very first Norwegian Cruise Line cruise for New Year's Eve on the Gem from New York. And in another podcast, I'm going to do a complete review of it. But for now, I do have to say that Norwegian was actually a pleasant surprise from what, perceptions might be. And I think that's a real important point. I think people's perceptions of what each different cruise line is, it may not be the reality. And I think let's start there. What are some of the biggest myths that people have about Norwegian Cruise Line versus what the reality is?
I mean, myths. I wouldn't say there really isn't any myths. We are the forefront in leading the cruise industry. I mean, we've had a lot first. I know you said, before we got on here, you went to Great Stirrup Cay. That was the first ever private island of any cruise line. Our freestyle experience. So basically that means, you follow your own schedule. There's no fixed dining times. There's no assigned seating. And we were the first to pioneer that. Whether it be our studio cabins for solo guests, we pioneered that. Our free at sea program, where you get free open bar, free specialty dining, free Wi-Fi, free excursions, free extra gas, free air. We pioneered that. So, we really are the forefront leaders in the cruise industry, and it's just going to get even better. We have a new class of ship, Norwegian Prima, that is coming out. It's been nearly 10 years since a new class of ship has come out, and basically we've taken our guest experiences and elevated to this next level. So we're really excited about that. And then we also have her sister ship Viva, which will be coming out in June of 2023. So we're definitely excited. But with us, it's you cruise your way, and we've always had that for our guests. So whether it be the choices in your complimentary and specialty dining options, your entertainment that ranges from live music to comedy shows to shows straight from Broadway, a wide range of accommodations, and of course our crew.
No, we understand that. No worries. I think, a lot of people, because different people like different, cruise experiences. And I think the one thing that I've always been the more traditional first and second time guy with the shows. If you early dine, you go to the late show. If you're late dine, you go to the early show. But I didn't find that on Norwegian I had an issue with my entertainment being somehow corrupted, the schedule being corrupted, because you still basically had time and you could figure it out. So basically Norwegian sort of says, okay, you're in control of your surroundings, versus on other cruise lines, as nice or as not nice as they may be, you're not necessarily in control of your surroundings, as it were, and your schedule. And I think that's the biggest thing. And yes, all the promotional offerings that Norwegian has, quite honestly, it blows the competition away, because again, using my cruise as an experiential thing, I did get the beverage package. I did get 2 nights at the specialty restaurants without charges, and those charges can add up. I did get shore excursion credit, which I applied for Cabana at the Great Stirrup Key, and so these kind of things are very helpful and very budget conscious. I have some people going to Europe in June, and they're doing a cruise, and the fact that there was buy one get one on airfare is a tremendous saving. The airfare to Europe is about $1,000 a person. So if you get one and you get one for free, and you're taking you're a group of 8 people, and you get 4 free airfares, that to me is like payola. It's a huge difference. And I think that's really important for people to know when it comes to value. Because value, I always say price is what you pay and value is what you receive. And I think the value of cruising in general, and Norwegian offers some tremendous value. And I think that's really important for people. So
and to go off of that, that's probably the biggest difference, between us and our competitors, or other suppliers out there, is it really is about the value. You are getting that free open bar, your specialty dine, the Wi-Fi, shore excursions, the free air. Nearly 50% of our reservations in the past year since we've had this promotion have been because of that. Because that's huge. I mean, as you said before, it's not cheap to fly to Europe. It's not cheap to fly to Alaska. It's not cheap to fly to Hawaii. But if you have that promotion, it opens up opportunities, and we want to give these opportunities to our guests. And no one likes a bill at the end of their cruise. You don't have to, when you come on board, you don't have to think about how many drinks am I going to have, what am I going to do tonight, unless you want to. We have a freestyle daily, I'll show you right now, where if you want to follow a schedule, you certainly can, right?
Oh, sure.
But that's up to you to decide. But you can just go a whole day and kind of just do what you want. And that's the beauty of coming on Norwegian. So,
well, I like I said, I really appreciate that. I think my biggest bill was for bingo. And I didn't win
one time in bingo, and that was a shore excursion in Florida. It was one of those fan boats.
Sure.
Other than that, I haven't seen a dime. They always take my bingo money.
Well, like I said, bingo. I have won in the past on other cruise lines. I'm not going to blame the bingo callers for not calling my numbers, because it's all random anyhow. But like I said, the bingo bill was probably the biggest one. Now let's talk about some of the different classes of ships, because obviously we have the new Prima and the Diva, which are these tremendous ships with a whole bunch of bells and whistles, things like racetracks and all kinds of other stuff. But the Gem that I was on is a much smaller ship, a more intimate ship. So you do have various varieties of sizes of ship that obviously can cater to different types of cruisers. So let's work on some of those different classifications of ships you have.
Yeah, so of course we have Prima and Viva, which are our new babies. They're being built as we speak. That's gonna, again, it's elevating the experiences that we have already had on our previous class of ships. So, for example, I am on the Breakaway Plus class ship, the Encore. So we've taken one of our guest favorites called the Waterfront, where you can dine outside, you can have a drink outside, and it's close, proximity to the water. So it's this big promenade. Well, we've doubled the size of that. And and now that's called Ocean Boulevard. So we have 2 infinity pools on each side. We have Indulge Food Hall with 11 different eateries. Towards the back of the ship, we have Ocean Walk, where you can get those Instagrammable moments. And of course, we have this ship has a 2-level racetrack. Well, guess what? On Prima and Viva, it's going to have 3 levels. It's going to be even bigger. And it's all about space with Viva and Prima, because that's really what our guests want. They want more space to kind of just, no one wants to go on a cruise ship and have to fight for a deck chair. We've all been there, right?
Oh, yes, we have. And then those people with the towels reserving them, and you're like an hour later, they're still not there. Yep.
Yep. Exactly. We've all been there. So with Prima and Viva, it's all about the space. And with that space, so it's actually going to be smaller than this ship. So it's going to be approximately the same size as our Breakaway class. So we have Breakaway Plus, which I'm on right now, and then Prima. So our Breakaway class is about 142,000 gross tons. So it's going to be about the same size of it, a little bit taller. And again, it's about the space. And with Prima and Viva, it's all about the service as well. I mean, you're going to have great service on board any of our ships that you come on. But this class is going to have nearly 2 to 1. So that means for every 2 guests, you'll have about 1 crew member to help. How amazing is that?
Well, they are like little floating villages. And, that was the one thing when I was on the Gem, even though we were at a reduced capacity, and we'll talk about some of that stuff in a little bit. The service was exemplary, from getting the buffet for breakfast in the morning. I did do a main dining room one morning for breakfast, but at the buffet there were plenty of people helping. We had our little wait staff people, with their little funny coffee songs that they would sing as they were coming around. It was really, I loved it, and I was singing along, and my kids were grimacing and giving me the stink eye. But that's what teenagers will do, to attend a service, whether I was in the atrium of that ship playing trivia, or out on the pool deck, lounging around. The service was definitely very attentive. I never felt neglected, and everyone had a smile on their face. And I think that's, that, and I know that, the crew experience is certainly one that's entirely different from being the cruiser. When you're a crew member, it's entirely different. And I have to say that, obviously they were really, really happy to be back to cruising. And that's and like I say, it was really, overall, it was a very, very great, it was a nice cruise that I was on, and it was a very positive experience. Let's talk about Hawaii, because Norwegian has something that no other cruise line has, and that is a dedicated ship that actually sails around the Hawaiian Islands. So you can actually do a cruise to the different Hawaiian Islands, and then at the beginning or the end, you can actually add on a land portion, so you don't feel like you're neglecting anything. So let's talk about Norwegian and Hawaii, because it is certainly something unique to the industry.
Yeah, it is. So we have what's called our ship, Pride of America, is a U.S. registered ship. So what that means is that you don't need a passport if you're a U.S. citizen, because Hawaii is a U.S. state, right? But it allows us to do round trip Honolulu every Saturday through 2025. Yes, 2025. And it's every single Saturday. You get to visit 4 islands in 7 days. So 5 different ports. So Oahu, Maui, Hilo, Kona, and Kauai. You have 2 overnights both in Maui and Kauai, which is really nice. And what I love about our product is you really maximize your time. You only have to unpack once, right? All your inter-island transportation is included, so you don't have to go to drop off your rental car, go to the airport, wait for your plane, get on a plane, go, pick up your
the little puddle jumper plane that if you have any fear of flying, those little puddle jumper planes that go between the Maui and Oahu, can be nail biters, for some people.
Right.
So and then the overnights are really key. Let's talk about what can you do in an overnight in Maui. I mean, obviously Norwegian has a few things set up Let's talk about like distance from where you dock in Maui to the activities there. I mean, it's not a big island, anyways. But let's.
No. Yeah, I mean, whether you want to do a luau, a lot of people like to do the luau and have that authentic Polynesia experience. There's it really just depends. I mean, there's a crater where you can do some snorkeling out there. I believe there's a volcano, if I'm thinking of the right place, but. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
that's on the Big Island. You can certainly go to the Big Island and see the volcano. And the other thing about Maui and Kauai, because you have those overnights, for me, because I'm being selfish for a second, I could go golfing, and I don't feel like I've wasted time. I can go play golf on some of these beautiful, tropical.
I was thinking Kona. Yeah, I was thinking Kona for more of the golfing and the coffee, of course. Who doesn't want some authentic Kona coffee? Because I believe Kona has 7 different golf courses that you can go on.
So I'm ready to do that cruise at some point. There's no doubt. Getting to Hawaii from the East Coast is, it's a long flight, but you sort of suck it up. You get you get your support hose on your legs, and you're you're good to go. So let's talk about Europe. Let's talk about I want to talk about Europe, and I want to talk about Alaska. And I want to talk about Panama Canal, because those are 3 areas that are really, really huge. So let's start with Europe. What should we know about Europe, and then what Norwegian does in Europe?
Where do you want to start?
Let's start north. Let's go north to south. Let's start with the Baltic and in that area first.
Sure. So, you can start from Copenhagen. You can do it overnight in St. Petersburg. With Northern Europe, we have this beautiful itinerary. It's not necessarily the Baltic per se, but it's on the Prima. It starts from Reykjavik, and it actually goes to Norway, and then it goes to Amsterdam, and then finally down in Southampton, which is a really beautiful, and it goes back and forth a couple times between those 2 places. But we hit Denmark, we hit Finland, of course Russia, like I said, with St. Petersburg. You have that overnight over there. You can stop at a couple places in northern France and of course in Ireland and England. So there's definitely plenty of things to do in the Baltic or Northern Europe. It really just depends on what you want to see and what you want to do, and then it comes down to the person traveling, of course.
Yes. Now the Mediterranean, because that's obviously a hot spot, and I know there's several ships that cruise the Mediterranean regularly in season. Like I said, I have friends on the Jade going in June. You can do a Western or an Eastern Mediterranean, or you can actually combine both. So what are some of the highlights there?
Yeah, so we have for Viva, we have a beautiful itinerary that actually starts in Civitavecchia, which is outside Rome in Italy, and it goes it goes up the coast of Italy. So you go to like Florence, and then you go into France, like Villefranche, and then you actually do some stops in Spain, and it ends up in Lisbon. So you get Barcelona, Palma de Mallorca. So that's a beautiful itinerary. But of course, you can do just your normal 7-day, either round trip Barcelona or round trip Civitavecchia, or you can make your way to the Eastern Mediterranean. So you can either leave from Rome and hit the Greek Isles, whether it be Santorini, Mykonos, Athens, or you can actually start in Athens. There's another beautiful itinerary that Viva will be doing that does Athens. It does it overnight in Istanbul, and it's a really, really unique and interesting itinerary that I think a lot of people, they're looking for that next thing. And all these smaller ports and different cultures. And that's the thing about Europe, is that's why people cruise to Europe, because you get to go to all these different countries. And with that itinerary, you hit 4 different countries and 10 different stops. So it's really a beautiful itinerary. And we got plenty of others. If you just want to do Greek Isles, we have 7-day round trip Greek Isles, but we have some longer, and we call those our extraordinary journeys, where They're 9+ night itineraries. They're curated where you have more port. It's more port intensive, more time in port. So definitely want to check that out.
Well, I also, I think authenticity is also the key. And when you're able to be in a port for a longer time and you get more port time in, it might bust your Fitbit, but it's certainly worth it because you're checking off things on your bucket list. Now, Alaska, let's go north. I went on a different cruise line. Shame on me in 2019, but I did get to see the beauty that is Alaska. This particular cruise stopped in Skagway, stopped in Ketchikan, and stopped in Juneau. Those are obviously three of the main ports of call. Let's talk about some of the Alaska itineraries that Norwegian has and what sets Norwegian apart from some of the other cruise lines there.
Yeah, so I mean, when you go to Alaska, you want to see Alaska. There's just so much to see, whether it be those majestic glaciers, the snow-capped mountains, all the wildlife and scenery around you. So with us, we actually bring those experiences closer. So, for example, the ship I am on right now, the Encore. So it is actually custom built for Alaska. So, for example, this is probably my favorite place to be, whether I'm working or just a leisure trip for myself, is the observation lounge. It's 180 degrees at the top of the ship on deck 15. It's 2-story floor to ceiling windows, so you're not going to miss a thing. There's plenty of day beds and chairs, and there's a full service bar in there. They have little knickknacks to eat off during the day. At night they have a little piano player, so it really sets the ambiance. But like I said, if you're in Alaska, it doesn't have to be Alaska. It could be in the, to see the turquoise waters in the Caribbean, but you're not missing a thing. And that's probably the best office view that you can get on any cruise ship. Not only that, we have the waterfront that we talked about earlier, where you can dine outside, you can grab a drink outside. So, if you're sitting there and all of a sudden a whale breaches the water, that's the kind of experiences that we want to bring to you. Not only that, we have a lot of outdoor top deck activities, such as our racetrack, our open air laser tag. So you really get
Are you there, Chris? Did we lose Chris?
Then, of course, other brands.
Okay, well, we lost you for a second, but I think I think that's okay. It's the way it goes. But I think the main essence of what you were saying about Alaska is you can get up close and personal, and there's spaces on board the ship, and then of course there's all the excursions that Norwegian has that you can do. Obviously, the one excursion that I cannot say enough about is the train from Skagway. We took the 2-hour train because we still wanted to be able to see the town, and the town itself is very walkable. It's flat, it's walkable. The town folks are friendly. We went in August, so it was actually a better time for us to go because it was the end of season, and they were still very friendly. It was still great. So one more itinerary, and that's the Panama Canal. What can you tell us about the Panama Canal and transits through the canal? And I guess this trip, because it goes to Alaska, must do that transit twice a year.
Right. So that's the biggest difference to know is that the Jewel class ships currently are going through the older locks. Anything above that, because it's just too big for the older locks, like this ship, for example, or the Joy or the Bliss, they are going through the bigger locks. Or the newer locks, I guess is the best way to put it. So, but of course, with the Panama Canal, it's the world's greatest shortcut, right?
It is.
So
it definitely is
all the way around South America.
Oh man,
it's it really is just this for what it took for all these men and women to make this is incredible. So if you are into engineering, architecture, whatever it may be, if you want to marvel at something, this is definitely the rite of passage. But we have, you could do a partial transit, so you go through the locks, They have a man-made lake called Gatan Lake. So you just turn around and then you go back through the locks. Or you can do those longer full transit itineraries. So you can start in Los Angeles and make your way all the way to normally Miami. But yeah, I mean, with the Panama Canal, there's a lot of unique places that you stop in, whether it be in Panama or Cartagena. So it's really, a trip of a lifetime. I know my parents, that they've been going on cruises all their life, but the only thing that they haven't done, and my dad was an engineer for like 35 years, is the Panama Canal. So they're like, Chris, when you get back, let's see what we can find. So
well, it's on my bucket list. Because I've been to Europe not on a cruise. I've been to Asia not on a cruise. I've been to many places in North America and obviously the Caribbean, because I've cruised a lot in the Caribbean. But then I've cruised to Alaska. So the only two cruises I really need to go on right now are Hawaii and the Panama Canal. And obviously Norwegian has both of them covered. And again, the partial transits are good because you go from Fort Lauderdale and then you return, so you don't have to worry about that. You still see great ports, and you at least get part of that experience. So you're not getting gypped or anything. And again, with a ship like what you're on, you can be in that observation deck area, and you can be in your little downtown thing, and you can be enjoying going through the locks and seeing, again, considering the age and the conditions and all, with typhoid fever and all that kind of stuff going on, it truly is one of the great marvels of the world. And yes, it saves you, a couple of weeks.
Sure, absolutely. And to kind of piggyback off that real quick is, these ships, or like the ship I'm on right now, is very balcony heavy. So it's important to have a balcony in Alaska. It's important to have a balcony in Panama. It's important to have a balcony in Hawaii. There's just so much to see. Even the last day of the Hawaii cruise, you're passing the Nepali coast, and the only way to see that is either by the sea or by air. So just imagine you're just cruising along and you just see that huge cascade of mountains. So it's incredible, and that's why we highly recommend that you don't miss those experiences and get yourself a balcony.
Yeah, it's true, because on my Alaska cruise, I had the balcony, and it was tremendous. When we went to Tracy's Arm, and we got to see. We got to see, some of the glaciers. We got to see some of the glaciers falling into the water, and it's tremendous. It was cold. Let me tell you, it was. It was August, but it was cold. Let me tell you, it was unbelievable. So it was really great. I think we basically covered the whole Norwegian thing. I don't know if you said something about booking out until 2025. So now there's something that I want to talk about, and it's a real great incentive for people to book with Norwegian, and that's called the Cruise First Certificate. Can we just touch on that, because this is such tremendous value that I will never book another client without getting them this, because it really is. So let's talk about that for a second.
Well, we already talked about value, and we're just giving you even more value. So basically, Cruise First, it's a very simple program. You pay $150, and you receive a certificate valued at $300. So basically, you're doubling your money. I don't know what other investment where you can immediately double your money right there and then. So you can apply that as a deposit towards a new cruise. So it's already done. Again, it's $150, and you take $300 off of your cruise. So, you double your money, and you don't have to make a cruise reservation right away. You have 3 years to use it. So, we're in 2022 right now. So you got 2023, 2024, or 2025. Now, 2025 is only Hawaii, but we have most of our deployment out for 2022 and 2023, and even 2024. I believe through October of 2024 for most of it. So, people don't, I guess the best way to put it is, people typically book their cruise vacations 9 to 18 months out anyways. Right?
Sure.
So a lot of people don't do those last minute cruises. So if you're a little hesitant right now, which I can completely understand, push it out. Push it out. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a lower price if you book now than compared to waiting last minute.
That's true because of supply and demand, and I know people who who bought the cruise certificates and are just they're sort of biding their time and they're looking for the right cruise and right time to go, and then that's fine. But it's locked in savings. Again, the only other way I know to double your money is to fold it. So,
so you're not wrong.
No, no lies are detected there. So but it is an opportunity, for people to get even extra added value because oftentimes $300, will cover a good portion of a deposit on a cabin. So it's really stunning. It really is.
Yeah, and to go off that, our normal deposit for say a 7-night cruise is $125 per person. So that's $250. So now you're even saving on the deposit itself. You're saving $100. So you don't have to put that extra money down.
Right.
Unless you want to. But if you want to save money right up front, then the Cruise First is a great promotion. But sometimes we even have little flash sales where we do $250 for $500. So you pay $250. And then you get certificate valued at $500. So that's even more savings that you can apply towards the cruise. So like I said, that's a time and time promotion. That's not our all every time, type of thing. But if you see that promotion come out, definitely you want to get that.
Well, there's no doubt. And like I said, I've saved many clients a lot of money by doing this, because again, every single client that comes through and says, okay, here's what we're going to do, and they're giddy. I mean, they get really happy about that. Now, before we go, we have to talk about the ever changing, ever unpopular protocols, because again, they're changeable. So even if people listen to this podcast 2-3 weeks from now, these may be completely obsolete. But for the current moment, which is February 10th. What is the deal when it comes to the protocols? What the basic deal? And looking into the future, I know an announcement was made just yesterday about some things, but again, it's a changeable feast, and the only, as I like to say, the only constant is change. So, give us a quick rundown on what the COVID business might be for now.
Sure, absolutely. So we made that announcement 2 days ago. But basically, all guests over the age of 5 must be fully vaccinated at least 2 weeks prior to departure in order to board. Now, of course, in terms of what is a vaccination and everything else, I think the easiest way to keep in touch with our protocols is ncl.com/sail-safe. Okay. And then you can, really take a deep dive into it. But the gist is, again, all guests over the age of 5 must be fully vaccinated at least 2 weeks prior to departure. So what does that mean? Those under 4 can come on board the ship. They don't have to be vaccinated. So that was our number 1 announcement. Number 2, the cruise that I'm currently on now, we do have to wear masks. Starting March 1st, masks are going to be optional. It's definitely recommended, but you don't have to wear them. So that will start on March 1st. So I will be on this beautiful ship, of course, right now and next week. So the entire time that I'm walking around, I have to wear a mask. But unless I'm in my own stateroom or I'm sitting or eating or drinking, pretty much you don't have to.
No, it's understood. You don't need to be masked if you're actively drinking or eating or if you're in your stateroom. And obviously, if you're in other spaces, you do have to wear the mask. So I understand that. But at least March 1st, there's a relaxation on that, which is great. We've lost Chris again for a moment, so I'm going to fill in for him. No, it's okay. It's again, don't you can't be worried about stuff that's out of your control. So we understand that the mask mandates are being relaxed, which is great. We understand that anyone 5 and older needs to be fully vaccinated, which means for adult humans, that's the Johnson & Johnson or the Moderna or the Pfizer. And for 5-year-olds and up, it's going to be 2 doses of the Pfizer. We understand that. Is there anything else that we really need to know as far as ship capacity goes? What's that running now? And then when do you think we'll be beaming up towards 100% again?
So I did lose you for a second, but I caught the end of that. So like on this ship, that holds just about 4,000 passengers. We have about 1,400. So it's plenty of space, right?
Well,
Which
I know.
is right now.
I know. We were 50% for New Year's Eve, and I'm going like, no, this is okay. Because 100%, you'd be kind of wondering sometimes if you'd be over capacity in some of the venues. So I understand that. But no, it's really good stuff. I appreciate you, Chris, for being on board with us today on the podcast. Anything else? Do you have anything in your bag of tricks you want to offer to my podcast listeners, or anything else you want to add before we go?
Sure. So right now, because Scott has a consortia that he works with, you can actually have up to 3.
Oh boy, we've lost poor Chris again. Those British Virgin Islands internet is not the same as the U.S. internet. What I'll do is...
no. Tortola is a little bit different. But no, so as I was saying, Scott has an exclusive offer because he does work with a consortium with us. It's up to $300 onboard credit. Right now, I am doing an incentive for any new booking in March. Wine and strawberries, chocolate covered strawberries.
Well, we like wine and chocolate covered strawberries. I'll make a note of that, and that's for bookings coming up in March. I'm going to have to let Chris go because right now it is kind of dicey with the internet, but I will be in touch with him in a second. But I just want to let you know that indeed you'll get extra onboard credit if you book with Norwegian with me at Walters Wanderings Travel, and you do so before the end of March because we're going to coincide that with Chris's offers. And if you look at my social media, you'll see exactly what Chris is offering, and we will be good with that. So this has been the Walters Wanderings Travel Podcast. I thank you so much. Look for an episode with my review of the Norwegian Gem. That'll be coming up as well. Take care, everyone, and have a